Alrighty. Welcome, everybody. We left off last session mid negotiations with the coalition, and I sent an offline bit of conversation coming from the NPCs at the table and ended with a brief adjournment. So we will pick up with the party and the Uralan uh, representatives plus Tom uh, in a side room, being given some privacy to discuss what went down and the path forward. We pick up on the tail of Nero's somewhat impassioned uh, suggestion.
Hmm.
Did you want to do that in character, or you just want to leave that be?
um, I don't mind stating it out in character.
Okay.
You want me to do that right now, or did you want to further with the recap? Or is this part of the recap?
Oh, true. I guess I'm kind of stepping on Avery's toes here, aren't I?
Yeah, I don't really know where we are in things.
Avery, anything else that should be mentioned in the recap?
Um, I think you pretty well covered it. I mean, essentially, we entered the system much sooner than expected and found a port there that we were not expecting. At least it wasn't there the last time the party was, in this system.
Mm-hmm.
We boarded that port where we expected to have the very discussion that you were talking about just a moment ago. Uh, Boarded without any major issue, and yeah, I mean that's the only bit in addition to what you had already kind of thrown out there.
Okay. Yeah, I think, yeah, Ethan wrote out a pretty thorough summary of each faction's position and put that in the player notes channel. So that's a good thing for everybody to reference if you haven't already. Um, so yeah, we'll go ahead and pick up. Um, we'll, we'll go ahead and pick up with Dexter's in character bit, and then you guys can proceed from there.
Yeah. So, some of this actually relies a bit on what you had typed there, Ben.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Do you want to put it in the roll 20 chat?
It won't fit. I mean, it'll fit. There's infinite scroll
I'll
there,
scroll.
but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it'll very quickly roll. I don't mind recapping what you typed if you don't, if you're okay with that.
Sure. Yeah, go for
Could do a dramatic reading.
it.
I'm not doing that.
He's going for the summarization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see Dex's tech away from what I wrote.
Basically, Caldwell thanked Saoirse for how she had put it in blunt and straightforward terms, and Martinius suggested that the church that he be reinstated or instated as the head authority of the church. Um, and all of that was well and good, but the CIS, um, was not really concerned about who was or was not in power in Urala, with Knut from Havario blah blah blah, being a coward and saying we don't want to ally with you because you're already at war. Wah. Um, Miho reluctantly agreed. Miho has some honor and courage, um, with some further reservations about the Gikari. Um, However, Miho was reasonable in as far as granting the request for Uralan refugees to take asylum with Anagras, and Sasha, the AI entertainment industry representative, was suitably Twitter. Um,
Hmm.
didn't really know who. Joked about how many people are on your What's It. Haha, very funny. Um, and if they consume media,
Hmm.
Newt further noted that if Urala wants help, then to find a path to victory that does not involve a head-on fleet battle. And maybe we could convince them it is worth their time. This struck a nerve with Nero. She did wait until the delegation had left and it was only our crew and the Uralans left in the room. Although she was noticeably, to those who know her and perhaps others who are more observant, on the edge the moment Newt took umbrage at being brought into an existing war, uh, aggravated and fidgety even more as the other leaders fell in line with his position. And once they all left, once that contingent, the ambassadors left, she burst out, "They're cowards. How do they call themselves warriors if they only fight weaker people than themselves? If they only conquer planets that have no chance to fight them? Signy had so much honor and fight, she would have struck him down right here. Here." She motions to an open space in the room. "She would fight them right here. She was..." Pauses. Looks over. "Let me fight. Let me fight him." Looks kind of at looks at Saoirse, Brothernick, and Caldwell with that kind of "I have an idea and I need approval and validation" look. "I'll fight him and he'll have to join the alliance." And that was Nero's outburst and her idea. I wowed everyone into silence with my performance.
I had muted myself so as not to, since I'm in the same room as Ben.
Ah,
Saoirse isn't really familiar with Havarian culture other than her exposure to Signy. So she is not sure if that would work or not. And she hasn't been in too many negotiations, but she feels like fisticuffs on the floor is probably not the way to go. So that her look is going to be one of like dread, like, oh no, like this is
appropriate.
getting out of control. She'll look at brother Nick and Cade.
Nara, do you really think it's a good idea to fight the guy or ask him for help, or
They have to have laws that make them fight, don't they?
What you mean is a duel, right?
Yes.
But if they conquered your planet, would you be seen as a worthy enough opponent for a duel? Usually those are seen as between equals. It probably will not get what you want.
Nero's mouth closed.
Unless you simply want to kill him.
I don't
I
want
don't think that would help either.
I don't want to kill him. Not worth fighting anyways. He's a coward.
Um,
Do you think
Cade
that
will
Cullen got into
look at
question?
one of the aides and or ask for an aide and say, "Can I see a copy of Havarian law?"
Yeah, so he pokes his head out the door and calls for someone. They go running off, and in a couple minutes, they bring him a data slab that apparently has, um, you know, a reference for Harvarian law.
Havarian law for
And
dummies, second
yeah,
edition.
I
hmm
was gonna say, if it's digital, he's probably searching for keywords.
I mean, it's Cade, yeah, but
yeah. Give me an administer check to see
okay.
how well he makes it through this, yeah, on short notice.
Okay. Int.
Yes.
Not bad.
Okay. So he finds the section that that involves
Honor duels.
yeah, he does find some reference to trial by combat type stuff, and um negotiating with outsiders, um but it's a, definitely it's pretty dense. Kate has some experience with looking into laws, but even so, some of the wording is archaic, and so he thinks it's going to take him some time, maybe even as much as an hour, to really understand really well how this would work. But at least within a couple minutes, he can get an idea that there are some laws governing those sorts of situations.
Okay. Well, Cade will look at Narrow and say, at least what their laws say, there's something governing their duels and honor code and interacting with outsiders, but I can't get through it without at least another hour.
How do they call themselves warriors if they only fight people that are weak?
I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I read enough
Saoirse's,
to know that there's an answer.
Narrowly.
Saoirse's gonna try and interrupt before that continues and just ask maybe one of the aides what time it is and what time they're expected to eat lunch.
So they were told that
Or dinner. I don't know what time this all started.
yeah, it's dinner time. So they were told that the plan was to recess for an hour to have a meal and have also time to uh, discuss and process what had been brought before the council already, and to then rejoin the meeting afterward.
Saoirse will look over at Cade and say, "Well, you got your hour. How good are you at multitasking?"
I can eat and read. That's easy enough.
She'll nod and turn to the aide and ask when the food will be brought to them.
The aide um, uh, sticks a hand out the door, snaps twice, and then says to Saoirse, "The food will be brought shortly. Please take your seats."
She'll, before sitting down, ask that they make sure to bring some meats for our friend Tom.
Okay. The the aide gives you a like kind of intrigued look, glances over at Tom, and then nods. Yes, of course, some extra meat. I'll see to it. And then heads out the door. So over the next few minutes, you can expect food will be arriving. They'll make a few trips in and bring some actually decent quality food that is well presented, well plated, and there's a good variety of uh, vegetables and some kind of meat. And there's a there's an extra heaping platter of that they bring for Tom, and they kind of look to Saoirse for confirmation that that is acceptable.
Saoirse will look to Tom, and if he clacks positively, she'll say yes.
Yeah, he his uh his mandibles twitch in anticipation as he leans over towards the food, gives you an affirming nod.
He'll give them a nod and thanks, and then go to sit down.
Curious, what was the Urallan delegation's general response to of this new suggestion and development?
Yeah, Caldwell definitely looked a little bit askance at Narrow, her outburst, but uh, he kind of kept his thoughts to himself while the crew hashed it out amongst themselves. And as the food starts arriving and everybody's sitting down, uh, he speaks up and says, "Well, I for one don't think that trial by combat or anything like it would go very well for us. Now, I don't know these Harvarian people very well, but I don't like the idea of resting our chances on how they'll receive that sort of challenge. It seems well, fairly barbaric to me."
They
But
aren't
he,
giving you chances.
well, they've pushed back. Nobody expects a negotiation of this sort to be resolved in a single sitting, or likely even two. These things take time. I don't have.
You have to sit through more of these.
Yes, you did not strike me as one cut out for ambassador work.
No.
You know, it won't dishonor you to decide to do something else with your time. He gestures at Saoirse and the rest of the table. I think your crew has several that are well capable of representing your interests.
Daryl looks at him as if, with that same look that she gives when something has lost her. Uh, Brother Nick has seen it in trying to teach her, well, not trying, in teaching her more mathematics frequently enough, and then she looks back over at Cade. Yes, I'm hungry.
If you truly wish to fight for the honor of your people, I don't see a problem with that. But if you
That's
are
already done.
picking a fight, I don't hear in your voice that it's done. But if you're just going to pick a fight because you're hungry, that's not always the smartest course of action.
I want to fight for the Urolans. They haven't been conquered.
And that's true, Nero, and I appreciate your passion in fighting for us. But don't expect these people on the other side of the stars to care so much for us. They have their own interests to protect, and I can see you have a great dislike for these ones in particular. Don't let that cloud your judgment. We will convince them in time. We just need a convincing argument and perhaps some more evidence to sway them.
Nero's face has been getting a little bit redder as this has gone on. Not as in like angry, and not even like as in, oh, she's gonna blow up because she's so hungry.
Mm-hmm. Is this embarrassed red in the face?
It might be embarrassed red in the face, yeah.
Okay. But Caldwell turns away from talking to her and says to everyone, "Yes, let's eat, dig in. It's better to discuss these sorts of things on a full stomach." And he turns to the bishop. As if you all don't mind, the bishop giving the benediction before we begin.
Oh, let me finish typing something here real quick.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'll modify it just a little bit.
Mhm.
So Ben, Cade doesn't have a dedicated tool. I figured he'd just use this black slab to scan for transmissions in the room.
Okay. Yeah, let me see here.
Oh, we do have the survey scanner. Would that help?
Isn't that
Um,
like the ship equipment? Not man portable?
well, there is a man-portable device that's called a survey scanner, but it's
I don't
more.
think we have that.
Um, I think I know someone had one at some point.
Yeah, I picked up one.
Um, that one would be available. That wouldn't exactly do that sort of scanning.
It actually is called a survey scanner.
Yeah, it does. Hmm, atmospheric and graphitic readings. Yeah, I was didn't
Yeah,
remember
it's not
mentioning
that good of a
anything about
scanner.
you
Seems
know,
like it's
electronics.
closer to a meta tool
It's kind of a
that
tricorder.
you would use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the black slab description says, for all intents and purposes, it acts as a meta tool for the purpose of accessing data lines and granting a bonus for hacking the token.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't really handle a wireless bug, but it would handle a wired bug.
Yeah,
Eh,
the whole wireless, the concept of wireless stuff
I
is
mean, surely they have basic like AM radio.
yeah, it's one of those things that I think the system, I think Kevin Crawford kind of intentionally tried to exclude wireless stuff from the base assumption as part of his like, oh, this is what cybersecurity would look like in the far future. But, you know, basically just as an excuse to make
Yeah,
what
but
appears to
so
be
it
normal.
doesn't need to be data. Like it could just be transmitting an audio stream. That's what a lot of primitive bugs do.
Yeah, true.
Um,
So no,
and
there's
like even the data slab says it can communicate wirelessly with nearby devices. And so
yeah,
I guess that'd be all you would be trying to do is look for is there some sort of covert device here that's been
yeah.
transmitting.
I would say I think the black slab ought to be able to do, a basic check like that. Um I just needed to kind of think
I
about
don't
it
think it
for
gives
a
a
minute.
bonus though.
No, it would not, but it would
Yeah.
definitely work for this kind of thing. So you can give me a regular old int,
Okay.
and mm, I'm gonna
Program,
say,
I guess.
well,
Or
actually, I was gonna say fix check.
oh,
Um,
interesting. Okay.
I think that's a little
I actually
bit
have to pull
more
my sheet up for that.
an
I haven't
appropriate.
rolled fixed.
And do you
It's
want me
not
to roll a
exactly.
sneak for narrow searching?
Yeah, if she wants to
I
help
may
out.
need to use my reroll on this because I have fixed at -1. So it'll
Hmm.
cancel out and just be basic luck.
Sneak wisdom?
Eh? It could be worse.
um,
Um,
actually, Dex, give me a notice check. Well, you're talking sneak, and
This notice is fine
mm,
also.
I think notice probably fits a little better in this case.
the
Okay.
notice machine.
Yeah. So
I'm guessing I need to re-roll that, Ben.
no, that's actually fine.
Okay.
So Kate and Nero
Wanted to
both.
save that for reading the loss.
Yeah, they
Sorry, go
they
ahead.
both they comb over the room, and Kate even checks. There's a security camera that's up in one of the corners uh, by the door, but it is apparently deactivated, and his mechanical check confirms that it's not sending any signals. And Nero also combs for any little hidden things and doesn't find anything.
And the reason
Awesome.
that I paused you at the benediction is because if the food has arrived, I think Nero has already grabbed something up and bitten into it.
So Cade will look at Brother Nick quickly before the benediction and say, room seems clean. I think we can talk freely.
I didn't find anything.
um, yeah, Caldwell looks looks back and forth and thanks you both. Um, and uh, good old Martinius stands up and makes a big to do about thanking his Lord Vofox for the bounty before them, even in a strange place, and asking for guidance and protection and wisdom. And then he sits down and digs on in.
Nero is so quiet, well, except for the sound of her eating, of
Is there a lot of sound to her eating?
course. Not like the kind of sound that you would get from Tom. He's probably noisier in that regard. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if there's a fork or anything that's not finger food to be eaten, then that fork is rapidly scraping the plate and shoveling food.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some noise from Tom's part of the table. Um, but he isn't even using his hands. His mandibles are taking care of that for him.
Wait, can Tom eat faster than Nero?
It's a race.
Opposed exert checks.
Let's see here.
Saoirse is going to kick Nero in the shin under the table if she notices her starting to race Tom with eating.
Nero goes back to eating normal without saying a
Nom,
word.
nom.
Yeah, Tom does not seem to have noticed. Or at least if he did, he gives it no mind.
Hmm. Uh, how close is Brother Nick to where Victor is sitting?
As close as you want. Would he have taken a seat next to Victor?
Oh, okay. He was hoping for some space and to be closer to Nero.
Oh, okay. Hoping to be have some distance between himself and Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so at some point, if he could stealthily get Nero's attention without drawing Victor's, he'd say,
Okay. Give me I think a sneak check.
with what attribute?
Probably wisdom.
Uh,
He's fairly wise and sneaky. Um,
Yeah,
he thinks he's managed to get Nero's attention while Victor is distracted eating and
yeah, and Nero
chatting with someone
doesn't
else.
even ruin the surprise with kind of vocal utterance. She just kind of slows and looks over at him.
okay. So he would whisper, I have a question about Victor for you.
Her eyes shift briefly over to Victor, then back to Brother Nick.
Say, when it comes down to it, do you think he'd be more loyal to Anagras or to you and Boris?
She says semi-quietly, Nero after all. Well, alongside me, of course.
Yeah, Brother Nick gives a slight nod at that and says, I'm afraid it wouldn't change our plans either way, but I did want to get your input. He's our best hope for having a back channel with the Anagrians, and I needed to be able to weigh whatever responses he gives based on how loyal he might be to Anagris itself or to our group.
I think he can be trusted. Oh no!
Just see the smorgasbord, Jeff.
No, I'm. There's more food eating challenge going on.
Oh no, the roll 20.
There's an entire subtext of competition surrounding the food. Tom has unknowingly set off a uncontrollable chain of events that will inevitably lead to something drastic. um,
Roll for tummy aches.
I was gonna. So, at the sort of other end of the table, the bishop looks up and glances around at a couple of people who are eating particularly vigorously with a kind of a grandfatherly concerned look and says, um, you know, we have an hour to, well, perhaps less, but almost an hour to eat our food. There is no need to rush so. Let us relax and enjoy the blessing set before us. He's looking kind of pointedly at first Java and then Narrow.
This
And
brings Nero's attention over to Java, and she sees how fast he's eating now.
he, uh, and he avoids looking at Tom so hard that it's obvious. Mouthful.
Perfect, Robert.
That's great.
I just thought of it, like Shaggy and Scoop having an eating contest, literally.
Yeah, Caldwell, over the course of the meal, seems somewhat lost in thought. Um, and at the end, he would bring up the idea that you all need to come up with a way to convince, I guess, the council that the Jakari are not going to pose a threat, more than just saying so. That they might have to agree to some sort of an apologetic gesture toward Tom. Then that they also needed some ideas for ways to impact Tabuk in other ways, since there seems to be at least at the moment, a consensus opposed to all-out war.
Well, I could say I'm not okay with Nero fighting them. Hold on, let me swallow. Sorry. Yeah, I could say I'm not okay with Nero necessarily fighting for that privilege. There's got to be a diplomatic approach to this. I mean, I think when I've dealt with problems like this in the past, I always think, well, what's in it for me? What's in it for them? Maybe I just am not privileged to all of the right information, but there's got to be a non confrontational way that we can approach this.
Bishop Martinius smiles at Java and nods approvingly.
Nero serves yourself up a second.
Does Brother Nick have anything to say to the Caldwell's prompting?
Yeah, so after thinking on it for a bit, he'd say, perhaps we could propose some more indirect means for the CIS to support the fight against Tabuk. Maybe they could supply and support the rebels back on Urala, as well as lend support to some of the more moderate Tabukan rebels that we had met on our travels there. I think if we all combined our forces, we'd create a several front war of to destabilize the Tabukan war efforts and perhaps push them into surrendering back Urala, or effect regime change on the planet that would lead to a more moderate, less imperialistic Tabuk.
Yeah, that seems to be along the lines of what Caldwell was hoping for. He nods as he's chewing a bite.
You sure I can't just fight them all?
Are you sure you could win?
Yes.
Saoirse, when Nero said that, snorted into her food. Because part of her would like nothing more than to let Nero just wreck this and wipe the floor with what's his face.
Cade will just kind of wave the conversation off with his fork and just mutter, "I'm working on it," as he's reading the legalese.
Yeah, I guess at that, Brother Nick would smile and say, perhaps you'll be able to fight him another time. I'm sure there will be chances for us to deal with Avario and their warlike nature or lack thereof once we've dealt with the matter at hand.
I mean, if she's sure she can win,
Do you guys want to go ahead and move to the end of the hour so you get Cade's assessment of how those laws work?
Yeah.
I think was our
Saoirse would also want to be made aware if she sensed any kind of psionic abilities happening.
Uh, there is nothing psychic happening in the room that she can detect. Um, yeah, she wasn't. She wasn't planning to go out and do a do a walkabout or anything. You're just talking about in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Nothing has presented itself.
Okay.
I think we still had our 3, 4, and 5 for the between sessions of stuff. Well, 3 might be lumped in with the check. Of I guess seeing what info we could get on the CIS member systems. And then I guess 4 and 5 are kind of lumped together. So Brother Nick and Victor going and chatting with the CIS representatives to try and do some relationship building and back channeling with them.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, I did not get the chance to. I didn't get the chance to do number 3 very thoroughly. As for number 4, you could definitely ask Victor to do that. Um, he won't really have time to do that before the next session, unless you guys request to delay the next session of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just be, I guess, game plans for the future then.
And probably the same with 5, unless you want Brother Nick to cut out early and go look for some of the others to try to uh, strike up some conversation with them.
Yeah, I guess if everybody else is okay with that, he'd be willing to cut out early. Let's get the plan kind of settled and then duck out to let everybody else finish hashing it out.
At the end of the day, they're the ones who are the leaders of their respective peoples, and we don't have quite as much skin in the game as they do. So Saoirse would be content having made her case and then letting them figure it out.
I had not yet. Hold on. Yeah, if we could, let's take a 10-minute recess for the session, and I've got to handle a thing or two, and also give me a minute to type up a couple things as well. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. That works.
These recesses could be a perfect spot to plug in telenovela that Robert was joking about.
Oh no. Be even better if the Hikari telenovela that we're role playing is just in chittering.
Yes, we could get these. Everybody gets to take turns writing them up. We could have more narrow dating sim adventures, Yukari soap operas.
So, out of character for my Mike, out of character from my knowledge, um, aside from additional, I guess, reinforcements that we could offer, what additional value do we actually add?
Well,
Like, how are we getting them what they want?
we have the ability, we have a high level of skill in being able to infiltrate places. I mean, we stole this ship out from under Taboo, along with their bio warfare payload, their Maltech bio warfare payload. Um, and that was at the end of uncovering what it actually was. So basically, have value as a uh, high expertise mercenary team. That's a deniable asset.
Are those services in any way, have they explained how that could be potentially valuable to them? As like,
And I guarantee you they won't. They'll make us say it so that they're not the one that's suggesting to somebody else, yeah, go assault Tabuk emplacements or some such.
it seems like almost to me like if we don't act against Tabuk now, they will become a threat.
They'll become a threat or will become a threat.
They will,
Yeah, yeah. Uh, that's about right.
in
Uh,
the simplest terms.
mhm. It kind of sounds like, and I don't know if Ben's doing this intentionally, but it sounds very much like this is an opportunity for us to be like, well, you guys do your diplomacy thing. We're going to go back and fight this war for you in our way. Or for us to just nope out.
I
And
almost feel like we're gonna need to make some sort of offer like that. I mean, to that effect, basically, to get the full support.
I agree, and that would be a perfect time to demand Nero's wind cutter.
No better time to get it.
Yeah, I guess I'd kind of figured that was our end goal we're getting to with the diplomacy. That
hmm
if we can get them on board with the idea of supporting these rebel cells, then our group is kind of the glue for that because we're the contact with the rebels on Tabuk. We've met, I guess, a couple of the Uralin resistant cells. We're the main, or I guess the only folks who've met the Gikari. Like outside of, I guess, the few people now who've met Tom. So I figure that's kind of our role. We'll offer to keep being the middleman that helps get all these groups that are trying to get Tabuk off their back linked together.
Yeah. We also have a lot of value in non-violent ways, with Cade's ties in Tabukan nobility, as well as
Yeah.
some other non-Cade contacts that we have. We
I'm
have
thinking the sheer number of level 4 skills our group has between us at this point.
yeah, we have a number of skills and just options that we can bring to the table that they're in no position to match.
I love this chart for the reference. I think I've shared it a bajillion times, but it's a good thing, Avery, for or I guess Crawford had included in the
Oh
skill or the
yes.
book, the skill section about this level of a skill is like this level of competence.
Might be pinned somewhere. Oh, now
Yeah,
it's
it
in
might
landing
be.
When
pad.
you're like level 3 or 4, you're supposed to be like one of the best people in the galaxy at or I guess yeah, 3 is your planet and then 4 is like the whole sector.
Yeah, Cade's at level 4 on program now.
And there is
Yeah.
obviously at level 4 in stab.
Stab. Yeah.
Yeah, so getting to those kind of things, then you're like the Albert Einstein of programming.
Stabbing.
Or yeah, the Albert Einstein of stabbing.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
That you're a genius stabber?
Well, I'm gonna some new photoshopping work on my
That is a good reference. Pretty easy to understand.
I think when I hit level 10, I can afford to bump Cade up to level 3 on Administer.
Nice.
But yeah, those 2 skills are really his main shtick at this point. The only problem I see with bringing Cade or his contacts to bear in the negotiation in any sort of official status is that they're very much like anti Tabuk at this point. They don't want the conflict, but they also don't want Tabuk in their space. So then you get the issue of if you reveal that Cade is Tabukan nobility, how are they going to react? I would generally say negatively.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't reveal that he's Tabukan nobility. I would suggest that we frame it instead as we know people and have ties, strong ties to people who have the king's ear. Or maybe not even go that far, but
like sources in an ability or
yeah.
sources in trusted positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, if I could only type.
Typing's overrated.
I just realized that Danielle isn't here. I was like, that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she is not in. Thought she was.
I think she dropped while they were figuring out that there are 2 mics in one room situation.
Oh.
But good to know we're all on the same page, independent of discussing.
Yeah. That's just funny.
Yes, it is.
Like pretty much exactly what we've been talking about.
Exactly.
You
That
guys
was funny.
jerks.
Well, that was exactly what we were talking about.
You're like quoting us, but you're not here.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It was so close that I, for a moment, suspected maybe Ben's just feeding her what we're saying.
That's hilarious. No, Ben was getting himself ice cream, and I was getting my headset on.
You did it in the same order that we did it too, which is
Yeah.
like
More
2 minutes
accusations.
behind.
They think that
Mhm.
you are apparently working this like high level, trying to feed me.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
They're saying in chat, but I'm like, no, his priorities right now are ice cream. Ice cream, and don't you dare lay down on the couch because you'll be asleep in 2 minutes flat. Sit in that chair. And I was like, me.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
fair.
that was pretty much his priority.
Yeah.
Glad we don't have to do that discussion again though.
Yep.
So glad we're all on the same page. It's just I've spent so much time in Stars Without Number. I've started to develop some abilities. I can read your minds.
That's a scary thought.
It is.
It truly is. I think my favorite episode of Justice League was when there was, I think it was an alien or something, but there was a major villain who was basically taking over all the superheroes by getting inside them. And Batman was the one who took him down. So he was basically like, you don't want to read my mind. Like, I'm too messed up. And then he challenged him. He was like, go ahead, read my mind. Like, get in there. And the guy went insane or something like that.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. It was great. Oh, man.
Oh, and Dex, you said typing is overrated.
Yeah.
Oh, as somebody who literally types for a living, it gets so annoying when my fingers don't do what my brain wants it to do. I have been switching between 2 clients, one of whom has installers and the other one has instructors. And every time I go to write instructors lately, I keep typing installers and having to go back and replace it every time. It's so annoying.
I have to type everything I do also. And my thing over this entire week is that I got really lazy with tending to my fingernails, and so they got long. And
I
I
hate that.
don't understand how people can type with fingernails.
I don't either. I hate it.
Like my
Sounds like
fingers literally slip off the bottom row as I'm trying to type on them.
Yeah.
I mean,
You broke up, Danielle.
I was just listening to that and I was wincing, imagining the sound of the fingernails on the keyboard.
I've hated that ever since I played piano as a kid.
I was
Oh
gonna say, it
yeah.
made
That was
me think of
worse.
when I played violin. The director of the mariachi would make us keep our nails trimmed like constantly because he hated that clacking sound.
Yep. I believe it.
It also kept you from actually playing well. So
Having
It did?
nails.
Oh, you
yeah,
like your ability to
because
pluck?
you have to be you have to be able to push the string fully down onto the board, the neck of the violin. And if your fingernails are too long, yeah, you're also
Yeah.
supposed to be using the your fingertips. So I don't know very many violinists with long nails. So
Alright, I think I've got one last sample here, Danielle. Thank you for being my color guide.
oh well, no problem. I
All
liked the
right.
last one you sent.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind.
Ethan.
The Albert Einstein of stabbing.
That was another thing we were laughing about.
What in the world?
Relative skill levels is like level 4 is like the best in the sector kind of approximate level.
Oh my word.
And I compared it to Albert Einstein.
Oh my word.
I mean, I could have picked
Theory
like
of relativity
Tesla or
involves how relative you are to her blade.
how many birds you stab.
Oh my stars.
I
Murder
swing my
reference.
stun baton and you'll go down. It's physics. How's
If
that?
anyone explained physics to Nero that way, she'd think she was a master physicist. She's like, I practice physics every day.
That would be hilarious.
All right. I am back. We are all back, I think.
Also,
Thank you.
I mean,
Must have been a good one.
Oh, never mind. I need to check how many are in my New Horizons meme folder. That's okay. 32.
I should
But
share some of the memes that came out of the Friday night game that I was in. They're younger kids, so their meme game is a little bit different from ours, but they're fantastic. I'll share them sometime after the game.
All right, so apparently we're all on the same wavelength of thinking about saying, hey, you guys are looking for an alternative solution. We are very good at alternative solutions.
Yeah, And basically, I mean, put exactly like that, and it kind of came up with, oh, are they gonna ask us to do something? And uh, my thought being basically, no, they're not gonna ask us to do anything. They're not going to implicate themselves in asking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to offer it or just do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's about where Nero is at this, anyways. In fact, she might even mutter something about forget diplomacy, let's just do something.
Forget diplomacy. Let's just be the
In fact,
solution.
yeah, no, that's too big. Forget talking, let's just do something. Sorry,
Yeah.
forgot who it was.
Too much talk. More stab.
Less
Less
talky,
talky,
more
more
stabby.
stabby. Jinx!
Jinx.
I was thinking it, but I already said mine.
She's not quite so childlike in her syntax, but yeah, it definitely sounded right for her. Oh, that's a classic one.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The negotiations were short.
They usually are at Blaster Point.
Oh, man.
Mhm.
And usually the hothead is the loser.
Mhm. And
Anyway.
nobody liked that.
Everyone liked that.
All right, so let's see, 10:30. Looks like we've got so Brother Nick was wanting to go around and kind of make the rounds before session 2. Uh, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you're thinking something differently, but sounds like he's wanting to just kind of go around, shake hands, rub elbows, and kind of endear himself to the various representatives.
Yeah, I was thinking general networking that I guess could be summed up with a connect role.
Okay. And he's
Maybe hopefully finding some people he can, I guess, do back channel negotiation stuff with.
okay. Yeah, I'd say given the amount of time he has, it's not he
Yeah, this
doesn't
was
consider
kind
it likely that he could get anything of that magnitude, but this very well could pave the way for future discussions of that sort. Um, and ah, there are a couple things that I wanted to convey about all of this as Brother Nick goes uh, as he leaves the basically the conference room that the crew of the Prudence and the Uralin delegation have been given, um, and asks around, indicates he wants to go and meet with some of the others if they'll have him. Uh, give me a. Well, no, I don't think this is anything that would really require any sort of skill check to observe. Um, there are there are a lot of armed guards wherever he goes, particularly around the chambers of each of the negotiating uh, delegations. Um, the majority of them are wearing Anagran colors, but at each of the conference rooms, they have their own they have their own people guarding their own doors, and there's not exactly tension in the air, but there's just um, for this sort of situation, there's just a lot more armed people uh, than he might have expected, given how much they didn't want your crew bringing a lot of weapons on board. Um,
Great.
just there's no apparent uh, threat at the moment, but yeah, there's a high level of readiness. And let me get a connect check. Hmm. I don't know about that one.
No, why?
15's not high enough, man.
No, I kid.
Sounds like you need a 16, brother.
Nothing short of absolute divine perfection will suffice in this case. No, no. He is initially received with some trepidation by each of the delegations. Little surprised to have a lone member of your crew visiting them during the recess, but Brother Nick, with his disarming way of speaking calmly and uh, manages to also butter up the ones that need such. Within a couple minutes at each room, he seems welcome, and the the ambassadors, particularly the representatives of their respective planets, are uh, they're smiling towards him and indicate their willingness to hear him out. They say that they're looking forward to hearing his suggestions in the council meeting. Um, from Knut, he gets the addition of the additional admonition that it had better be good, but he's confident that uh, that you'll be able to step up to the task. And while he's there at each one, he picks up on the mood in each room. The Loenuda delegation seems fairly laid back and unconcerned about the results of the upcoming negotiations.
Yeah, or anything, it seems.
um, in the Harvarian chamber, there's a definite tension. And in the Anagran chamber, um, there's not really tension so much as heated discussion that doesn't even really pause when he enters. He ends up kind of having a side conversation with a couple of the aides and manages to get to speak with Miho briefly. But there's a lot of debate about the need to stand up for Urala and the risks to Anagris, whether they can really afford to put themselves out there considering their position. And while he is, uh, right before he leaves the Anagran delegation, uh, one of the aides comes and gets his attention and says, Brother Nick, is it? You have a message from Mr. Alder? He's requested a meeting with your crew. He's been given quarters in the VIP section of the station, and he hands you a little pad that has a crude uh, map drawn just to indicate which section of the ship he's on. If you head to that quarter, they'll easily be able to direct you to his quarters. He checks his compad. There's perhaps not time before our next meeting, but after. I would not recommend keeping such a man waiting, but he apparently knew you by name, so I suppose you already know that.
Oh yeah, so thank him and say, oh yes, we'd worked with Mr. Alder previously. It'll be good to see him again.
The aide just gives a low whistle and says to Brother Nick, "Well, just be careful what you say. I've heard the man is totally insane, but if you make him happy, he can make you richer than your wildest dreams." He seems there's kind of a lingering, it's kind of trailing off of his sentence, like he's hoping Brother Nick will tell him something.
Uh, I think he'll just play it up then. See, this brother Nick hadn't realized this dude was that big a player from their limited interaction. So he'll just give a mysterious smile and head out.
the the aide gives kind of a frustrated huff, but also with a huge grin and like a attaboy sort of gesture. All right, so Brother Nick returns to the conference room where you're all sitting. He let everybody know how his canoodling went. Not canoodling, sorry, schmoozing.
I was gonna say, who is he's
No,
canoodling with?
Brother Nick does not believe in canoodling. Excuse me. Schmoozing.
I was gonna say he kind of slammed Saoirse thinking she was planning on canoodling.
Nero loves Knut-dling
Not
with
to mention Nero and Java.
with hot sauce.
Oh my.
Well, now I gotta stop typing those notes to find one of my eyebrow gifs.
One of them. The Steve Harvey, always a good one.
Mhm. Ethan always comes prepared with eyebrow gifs.
That's got to be 75% of my GIF favorites folder on here. It's just those eyebrow GIFs.
I haven't seen that one in a minute.
All right, so Cade finishes up his fevered scouring of Harvarian law, and from what he can determine, first of all, a lot of the sections governing these sorts of martial bouts to decide diplomatic matters are quite outdated. They're still on the books, but there are, in a couple small cases, there are newer statutes that seem to contradict them in small ways. Something akin to the you know laws in the states, like you can't have a ice cream cone in your back pocket. Um, and little weird things like that that have stuck around just because it's more trouble than it's worth to take them out, but doesn't necessarily mean they'll be enforced. However, there does there does seem to be enough of it still in place that it's possible they could uh, they could catch him on a technicality, um, but it seems like it depends uh, it depends a lot on the honor of the challenged party being being called into question, and that concept seems to be left fairly vague. Um,
So what I'm
and
hearing is there's a path. Heck yeah, Nero doesn't need to know what a technicality is. Sorry, had to get that in there.
That's all right. So this idea of the honor, it's basically because the challenged party is not really required by any of these to basically fight or suffer the consequences. Um, but there's some reference to like their standing among the chiefs being uh, being damaged, that sort of thing, that is still apparently relevant. The Harvarians rule by some sort of combination of uh, constitution, some sort of parliamentary kind of chiefdom situation. But yeah, it's a little dicey as to how likely it is to stick.
I guess he would conclude that while there is old precedent, that it's pretty shaky for contemporary use.
Mm-hmm.
And that if anything, it wouldn't necessarily obligate them to do anything for Urala.
Now, is he actually telling Nero this, or is he telling everybody but Nero?
I think he would tell Saoirse. Let her decide.
Oh, jeez.
So he'll kind of motion her over and say, okay, so the Havarians do have an honor code of sorts and a sort of honor-based society, parliament system, some sort of constitution backing all that. But the issue is that the idea of honor duels and anything related to that are very old and antiquated and not really seen in contemporary use. So while somebody may insist on an honor duel out of admiration for the old ways, I don't think it would obligate them to do anything if we won. So I don't see any benefit to us having some sort of duel.
I was afraid of that. As much as I would have liked to see Nero get some of her nervous energy out, I think we best skip it for now.
I think it's a long shot at best.
Oh, well, we need to save our luck for when the long shots are all we have. I'll let Nero know that she'll need to hold off a little longer on beating the pants off of what's his face.
Good old what's his face.
I wouldn't mind seeing his smirk wiped off either, but I don't think the fighting would do it.
Saoirse will make a. She'll try not to look flustered, but she'll definitely make a bit of a beeline for Nero and try to very gently explain to her it would not be helpful for her to fight the Havarian diplomat. My brain was pulling up disciple, and I was like, that's not it. I need the other D word. Disciple is not it. Okay, so anyway, diplomat. Basically, it just would not be helpful in any way. Currently, but that maybe at some point in the future she could fight him.
Yeah, Ethan keyed in very well on a point that I may not have emphasized clearly enough.
Yeah.
But the personal standing aspect of it.
I see that. Nero listens, and there's that little bit of an eye roll. Okay. Should make something for me to hit when we're back on the ship.
I'll work on it.
How many more meetings do we have?
Hopefully, it'll be done real soon.
I'm already hungry again. Oh my goodness!
Thank you,
pulled
Ethan.
that up.
Yes. I was considering dragging it out into the landing page. I was probably gonna wait until you guys went and met him, but
That's the old Martin Elder picture you guys picked.
I picked
Man,
it, yes.
That's
Hold
the
on.
official
Yep.
handout.
Yeah, that is.
wow.
That's exactly what came to mind.
Yeah, I think you guys all have access to that in the journal. Yep,
Oh
all
yeah, we do
players.
have that, don't we?
Wait, the journal?
So
Oh,
Roll20 journal.
yeah.
Hmm.
I don't look at the NPCs. Basically, just ignore it.
Two types of
Wow,
players.
I am so offended personally.
I mean, I popped it open when I needed to know about
You know,
Esposito.
that was how many sessions ago?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
all of the
I don't
sessions
remember these
ago.
things.
Yeah.
I say Robert wasn't even here when you guys met Martin Alder.
Nope.
Yeah, so this
I
is
just never thought to click on it.
So back to the flow of time. You're being informed that the the meeting is about to be back in session. You guys think you're ready to go ahead and cut to that scene?
Yeah.
You have any other points of order you want to make sure you've decided or discussed beforehand?
Not I.
Can't really think of it.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. You guys, you have several points laid out by Ethan for in the meeting already anyway. I was just making sure that you guys didn't have any major alterations to that.
Thank you, Ethan, for using your brain power when the rest of us really can't.
Oh, I'm just channeling Nero. I'm not. As in not using the brain power.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I was gonna say what brain power? I can't use what I don't have.
My.
All right. So. Uh, Let me see how I want to do this. Would you guys like to go in character, or would you guys like to do this kind of out of character? Do some, get some summaries and that sort of thing.
Whatever's going to require less brain power from me.
I was gonna suggest in character because it'll require more brain power. Everyone but me.
Thanks.
Oh,
Oh, what a troll.
What a sadist.
yeah. I was thinking it.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh, hey, somebody other than me being accused of being sadistic. Don't mind if I do.
no.
All right. Well,
I mean, apparently not everything is about the GM.
yeah, it's very strange, but
Weird.
apparently that's the conclusion you guys have come to. Um, I guess I'll accept that for now. So,
I would say in character just because out of character sounds like a lot of GM talking.
Yeah.
That's more my reason.
yeah.
I think the sound of Ben's voice just grates on him. So
You can't
no.
escape me.
If that were the case, then I would definitely advocate for Ben because more suffering.
Okay, so you've all re-entered the meeting room. Everyone's taken their seats. Narrow, I suppose, is reluctantly joining the meeting once again.
No, she's taking her place by Saoirse as a duly appointed bodyguard. Well, self-appointed, but still self-duly appointed bodyguard.
Makes sense that she would. Well, she would think that.
Exactly.
All right, so uh, the meeting is brought to order by Miho, and she uh, welcomes everyone. Does they go through some formalities of recognizing everyone at the table again, and she ends by directing her gaze towards the crew of the Prudence and the Uralans sitting by them, and asking, "So, what have you come up with to present before us?" And of course, in character, there is no such long, pregnant pause.
Who's taking point on this?
Maybe there is, as Saoirse and Brother Nick both look at each other. Danielle, you there?
yeah, I'm here. I just
Okay. We can let Brother Nick take point then,
yeah.
unless someone else is going to volunteer.
Saoirse would just say, "You've made it evidently clear that you would prefer an alternative solution than coming to an armed conflict as fresh faces. As someone who's spent plenty of time in armed conflict that she didn't want to be in, I can understand your hesitancy. Though I find it confusing for some of you, as I had not been told of such hesitancy with you." She'll give a glance at Mr. Canute or whatever his face is. However, I must say that I am lucky enough to be the captain of a crew that specializes in alternative solutions. And we think we may be able to assist in this venture if such would convince you to help end Tabuk and their attempts to take over Europe.
Newt's expression darkens, but as she continues, he steeples his fingers and observes her closely over them.
No, Ethan, the worst. Trying to get in a serious mindset, and I just see Knut-dling
Yep.
off on the
It came
side.
to me after you said it.
Oh my.
Noodling.
The Knut-dling.
Noodling.
Noodling. Yeah,
My stars.
that's what Nero is wanting to do. Now it all makes sense.
Yep.
That's what she thought Knut-dling was.
But only if it involves blades.
Only if it involves fists. Oh my
Mhm.
word.
¿Por qué no los dos?
is too much.
Mhm.
I guarantee you, Nero thinks Knut-dling is food.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I was like, it's one of her favorite carbohydrates. Not that she would know that word either, but
No.
That's yeah.
She'd probably recognize starch, from farming.
mhm. Yeah. All right,
So as we
so
were saying,
Saoirse has presented she's floated the idea of some alternative solutions.
yep,
But the room is still assuming that she's going to continue, or someone from your party is going to continue to lay out some of these suggestions.
yeah. She will motion for Brother Nick to take over from there, actually, because Brother Nick is much better at giving the nitty gritty options, in her opinion, in a way that is convincing.
All right, Ethan, you got all the canoodling out of your system.
Okay.
Possible. I'll take that as a no. He definitely doesn't.
You broke Ethan.
We just broke the man.
He's a poor broken man now.
Oh, man. A shadow of what he once was.
Okay.
Good man? Do you need a moment?
Okay. Yeah, I think
All right. We got this.
okay. Brother Nick would join in. He'd say, I think there is a way for the CIS to be able to support Yaralan's efforts for liberation without having to engage in full scale or direct combat. That during our time traveling and working amongst these groups on Ural and Tabuk, we've come into contact with several rebel groups, the Uralans among them, who are working to stop the Tabukans' occupation, as well as to move the Tabukan government itself to a more moderate and less expansionist faction.
Miho she pipes in at that. You believe you have some way to influence the direction and the composition of the Tibucan government?
That he'd nod and say, we've made contact with a few influential members in the Tabukan society, along with members of the government nobility who lean towards a more moderate style of government and who don't have knowledge of some of the more egregious acts that the Tabukans have committed in their war efforts. We think that leveraging their influence and resources, backed by perhaps some of the additional resources of intel from the Uralan rebels, as well as your own considerable intel and backing, could help them in effecting a regime change, or at least change in policy towards Urala and any continued war efforts.
She is nodding, seeming very interested in that line of reasoning.
What's his face? Knut-dling.
uh, Knut responds to Brother Nick and says, "So how prominent is this faction that you're hoping to replace? Are you sure it will be so easy?"
It will take some doing. Other, they will need additional support than their current position. Elsewise, they would already be in control of the Tabukan government. Uh, but there is a significant faction, and I think with the right framing and revealing of certain damaging information, that we could bring over even more people to their cause. We'll take laying some groundwork. In addition, work by rebel forces will help to, or could help to demoralize and disincline continued war efforts on Urala. They see that it will not be an easy occupation and will take more investment than the public or the military is willing to bear, paired with the revealing of this damaging information against the current regime. I think it's doable.
Knut chuckles. Suppose propaganda warfare does satisfy my request for something other than outright fleet battles, though I suppose I should have been more specific. Do you know of any weaknesses in the Tabukan defenses? You said they're spread across several systems. Surely they have some angle or some outpost, or perhaps even a planet that is less defended than the others. We know that they have battleships at their disposal, but surely not enough to cover every entry point to their space.
Uh, I think Brother Nick would be a little guarded at that. Say, the majority of our military knowledge comes from Tabuk, which, as you know, being the home world, is heavily defended. I think you also run into the issue that our current knowledge of routes between your sector and the sector where Tabuk is as a choke point through Urala. Any forces you would move against one of their other planets that might be more vulnerable would first have to travel through there, where quite a large contingent of their forces are located.
Now, this is only because you and some others are withholding the information about the metadimensional locations of these other systems. If If you were willing to share this knowledge, I suspect we could come up with a alternate angle of attack. You say you've entered from Anagris to Urala, but surely another path could be found if you have rudders to this Tabukan homeworld.
Saoirse's going to be looking increasingly frustrated, if not outright angry, as he's asking or pushing Brother Nick for more tactical information about Tabuk.
Mio has got her lips pursed, uh, and is not glaring daggers at Canute, but definitely glanced daggers at him.
So yeah, as to that, Brother Nick would respond, such a thing may be possible. I am no pilot and no metadimensional physicist to be able to speak to such matters. Though I do know that spike routes go both ways, and as it stands, you're worried. It appeared the CIS was worried how its forces would fare against Tabukans at one choke point. I would hesitate to open up more fronts that the Tabukans themselves might be able to utilize against your sector.
Ah, I see. Canute grins broadly and gestures dismissively. There's no need to be concerned. All our captains are well trained in the practice of uh, sabotaging their own navigation systems before surrendering any such to the enemy. There would be no such danger from our ships.
So you wish to speak of ships and captains and sabotage when you haven't yet given your word that you even want to be involved.
Of
You're an
course,
interesting man, sir.
any man with sense discusses the product he's about to purchase before he puts money down. It would be foolish of me to rush blindly in, my heart bleeding all over the table, to rush to the defense of these Uralans before us, not knowing anything about what I'm getting myself and my people into. But I rest my point for the moment. Perhaps we can discuss these spike rudders another time. And Miho stands up to take point. Yes, we should leave that discussion for later. I like this plan of yours to sow dissension among the Tabukans, to discredit these sons of glory and drive them out of political power. You think this other faction you have relations with would be open to negotiations with Urala, perhaps with the CIS at their back?
she's asking about the Tabukan rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about whatever faction you're claiming would be open to ending the invasion of Urala.
Okay. Yeah, it's a. They'd expressed that sentiment to us before, and I believe if we gave them the opportunity, they would be willing to make peace with Urala and to return them to being a free system.
Okay. Very well. And what sort of aid do you propose we provide to the Uralans to help them withstand the invasion in the meantime? We have frankly been surprised that it's taken as long as it has already.
Um, say, looking to Miho, say, you've provided probably the largest point by giving asylum to General Caldwell and Archbishop Martinius. But as long as they continue to be out of Tabukan reach, there is a significant opposing voice of the Uralan government and of the Uralan faith. I think with your continued support, they would be able to send messages back, coordinating to rally the people, as well as provide careful instructions to any resistant cells that still remain. As to material support, the Uralan rebels could use any support you're willing to lend them. Most especially in being able to set up and connect these emplaced resistance cells. As we had met them, there were many dedicated and valiant individuals fighting against the Tabukan occupation, but not all of them are trained in the ways of asymmetrical warfare.
Hmm. Well,
Perhaps being able to provide them with individuals who could or who come with that expertise would help them in providing a stiffer resistance.
there are mercenary companies, some based in Anagras, others in elsewhere in our sector that could perhaps be convinced to travel farther than usual to uh, wage this asymmetrical warfare you speak of, but they do not come cheaply. He looks to Caldwell, and he would stand and say, Urala is well able to pay for any sort of aid that Anagras or the CIS could provide, or even direct us toward. Some of that payment may come later, once assets are reclaimed, but the Tabukans desired our planet for its abundant resources and not insignificant stores of rare medical supplies, and he pauses, and pre-tech equipment that has survived the ravages of time. If the aid were significant enough, we could discuss trade of some of those artifacts And there's a bit of a stir around the room as he makes that offer. There's some muttering, and the representatives quickly conferring with some of their uh, some of their companions on the in the delegations. Uh, he looks over at Brother Nick and gives him an assuring nod. Leans over and says quietly, uh, "You're doing well, brother. I appreciate your advocating so strongly for us. You seem to be making headway."
He smiles and whispers back, I hope so. Uh, I hope this won't come at too steep a cost for your people.
He waves dismissively at that idea. Uh, we've already paid far more than we'd ever thought to. Can't get much worse than it already has. Especially not thanks to your good work on Tabuk. And Tom nods in agreement with that comment as well. Um, and he adds in a note to Brother Nick mentally, telepathically. Make sure that you ease these people's minds as far as our ability to leave our planet. Um, and if you can find a way, perhaps, well, no. I don't believe aid for our people is going to make this negotiation any easier. All in good time. But thank you for not bringing us to the forefront yet. I think thinking of my people and the implications of our presence in the sector is unsettling to most of these. So the stirring and conversation around the table uh, dwindles, and the the three representatives kind of look at each other, um, and Sasha actually stands up and speaks. Ah, I think we can agree to whatever this aid is that you know you're all in needs. Sounds like they've got enough in it for us. Now, I think we'll need to wait until after the war to let them into the alliance, but that should be good enough, right? I believe we have enough for now to agree to come to Urala's aid, indirectly and even unofficially, but we will facilitate the transportation of some skilled individuals and even supplies. And I believe that we should discuss with the crew of the Prudence these propagandistic plans that they're so confident in and see if there's any need for us to help with those efforts. But again, preferably unofficially. And Knut, he nods his agreement and just leans forward to say, I agree. We will discuss the payment that Ural has offered to the CIS in exchange for this aid. And then he sits back down. And Mio then directs to Caldwell. We will have we'll have some documents drawn up. I believe a night's sleep would do us all some good, but tomorrow I believe we can meet and arrange for all the proper things to be signed and agreed upon officially. Some of my aides can explain to you the process for applying for asylum on Anagris, and I believe we can find you some accommodations that will be suitable to you. She looks around the room. Any further matters that need to be brought before the council? Or can we consider our business concluded? Caldwell seems, uh, at least, what's the right term? Kind of begrudgingly content to end there. What does the Prudence think?
Saoirse's going to feel like that's as good as it's going to get without her basically calling Knut a couple choice names that would probably not help with diplomacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, without sicking narrow on him. Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do say
Aid for
things
that
that
matter.
please do say things that offend Newt and make him stand threateningly. That would be great.
Oh, yeah.
Just imagining narrow, you know, leaping across the table, the stun baton him. Quit looking threatened, my captain.
No.
Looking
She is
people.
exercising restraint. She would stand immediately and just present herself as, you are not getting anywhere near my crew. In posture, not in words.
Yeah.
Goats. Man.
Yeah, Narrow is imagining some pretty interesting scenarios where she gets to
She is.
she's she stands down the Havarian chieftain of foreign relations and puts him in his place.
And also the 4 robots that descend from the ceiling behind him. Don't forget those.
Goats.
Yeah.
That's what those light things up there are. They're disguised robots.
Word.
Oh boy, you found me out yet again. However, did you do that?
I just thought like Nero, that's all.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it is 11:30. I believe that's a good point for us to stop at.
What a gif to end the night on. Thank you so much. That's my purse. I don't know you. Oh man.
That you're talking about the other one he just now posted.
Oh no. Didn't see that one.
That was good too.
That one's a classic.
They're both good. This was a good session.
Good.
Oh yeah. It's surprisingly good.
Yeah, I think.
I
I'm
felt brain dead for
debating
most
our
of it.
definition of lesser evil, though.
Yeah, I don't think that there's much room for a regime change in Vario, honestly.
Yeah, I
That's
don't really want to involve Havari at this point.
yeah.
Nope.
See, Dex, I think you're just. The problem is you're not thinking big enough.
Nope. Don't listen to him.
I mean, who says regime change has to be swapping one current party for another?
I think what Ben
That's
is saying,
literally the definition of a regime change.
Why not just regime replacement?
yeah, I think what Ben is saying is that
That's also
Nero should
regime
just
change.
become the king of Havaria.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, the chiefess,
Yeah.
chieftainess, something. Yeah, chiefess.
My stars. I cannot with you people tonight.
How many chieftains
Yep.
does a girl have to kill to affect the regime change around here?
Yeah, near the end there, I was trying. I needed Nero to say, but I couldn't have Nero say. You guys can't keep asking for more and more and more. What you're getting out of this is a freaking buffer zone already.
Yep.
You're all just taking all of the uh just risk here.
Yeah. Literally have nothing to lose.
Yep.
You
It's a
have
very
everything to
cowardly.
lose, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
We are offering to gatekeep. You just have to help us keep the gate closed.
yeah, I think people were definitely envisioning burning hulks of ships falling from the atmosphere over Urala, or foreign battleships appearing in orbit over their home systems. Maybe creative imaginations there, but
Yeah. It
I
just
mean, our first introduction was to a Tabukan ship
Yep.
that no investigative crew had returned from.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think it's a stretch. You're like, I don't know why they're imagining, ships raining down fire and judgment. It's just a little, bio weapon fooling around, as one does.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like Tabuk is
Ridiculous.
already able to knock at your doorsteps. Help us, and don't be selfish and greedy about the cost of a few mercenary bands you send over for your
Oh
own
yeah,
good.
that's a good like, or I guess a good additional
They're-
counterpoint against
Those are good
Knut's
closing comments,
doctrine.
honestly.
If somebody other than Nero wants to make them, please do. Take my words. I'm fine with that.
What Saoirse would be wanting to say.
Oh, I was thinking on top of that, them getting there seems to be proof they can blind drill into other sectors.
Mhm.
So old Knut's thing about, oh, just give us the rudder and we'll make additional routes and pinky promise we'll scuttle our ships.
Yeah.
so they don't get them. They don't need it. Once they've carved a rudder, that's even easier than blind traveling into another sector. Then they've opened up a multi-front war on themselves.
Hmm.
And the tables will have turned.
Yeah. No, I will just make one point of clarification because you guys may be understanding this correctly, but I just want to be clear. So you're right about them being able to make a blind spike drill to whatever system. The kicker is they need to. I guess the way that I think about it is like everybody knows, the whole hex grid layout is kind of the standard abstraction of metaspace that everybody agrees upon. So, you know, yeah, they can try blind drilling into a hex that they don't know anything about. The thing is, they do need to at least know which one they should be aiming for.
Yeah.
Um, unless they're in a position where they don't care, they're just willing to try all of the ones over there that they don't know about and see if they get lucky. But considering the skill and resources it tends to require to carve out those routes from scratch, um, that could be a pretty serious undertaking that takes quite a long time to actually find the right spot.
Yeah. Let's get those closing remarks from Brother Nick and or Saoirse.
Okay. Yeah, and do you guys want to go ahead and repeat them, or are you saying just say that those points are what we make in our closing remarks?
Oh, I think Brother Nick was gonna sit on with, or I guess where they've left off.
It sounded like
Yeah, I think
Danielle.
so.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay with Brother Nick continuing because he was definitely, on a roll. He was in the middle of his talking. I do think Saoirse was stewing for a while, and so I think it's something that fits. But it's it's something that it seems to be what the crew as a whole is thinking. Also, it might actually help Brother Nick to retain some good standing with Knut versus he already doesn't like Saoirse. Just putting that out there. So
Good cop, bad cop.
Exactly what I was thinking.
I'm okay being
Mhm.
bad cop.
Yeah.
I don't like this guy, so no interest in him liking me.
All right,
Just
so
need him to work with me.
okay, so I got a little bit mixed up there about who is actually going to make
No,
those
we're
closing.
still trying to decide that
Oh, okay.
is what we're doing.
That makes sense then. That I would be confused.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
So I think
hasn't been decided.
Brother Nick would be willing to close out, I guess, kind of just summarizing and giving interest in their talks the following day. It's kind of his internal thoughts being that they're a lot closer to getting what they wanted, and some more of those specifics, I guess, of curtailing some of the Havarian land grabbiness,
Yeah.
and some of those
Brother
things
Nick,
being
if Brother Nick wanted to say it in a more diplomatic, narrows comments in a more diplomatic way, and attempt that first.
Oh, I
That would
think
be
leaving it unsaid at this point, but having that being stuff they can address in some back channeling.
no, that would be something that Saoirse would want to say. This is what I'm saying: is if you're not going to say it now, then Saoirse would want to say it. If it continued to be like, well, what are we going to get from this kind of thing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he'd leave it unsaid, and I guess leave that for her to
Okay.
Step in
run
and
the
voice.
bad cop dynamic.
Okay. In that case, where are we at right now in discussions? Are we still same day, everything like that?
Yeah, it's just basically Mio has put out the final call for last comments. They they've sort of agreed to some sort of aid, supplies and helping arrange for mercenaries, um, given uh, contingent on whatever the payment is that Urala promises. So she can go ahead and step up and speak up a minute or two.
I'm gonna type them or stand in Danielle.
Yeah, go ahead and type them.
Okay.
Dex is hitting me up with some bullet points real quick, so I make sure I don't leave any of his very good points unsaid.
Okay.
As well as Robert also made some really good points. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember what they are now.
it's all right. No worries. We're all, we're working together here to have one functioning brain.
Quick,
Yeah.
And
play
then
back the tape.
Ethan. A functioning brain plus Ethan's brain.
It's a team effort.
Yeah. P.S. I also would love to know Java and everything he's done. Is this the part where Nero is, where we tell them Nero is good at stabbing?
Seemed like the right time.
Man. Brother Nick makes a mental note that once they deal with Tabuk, they should effect a similar regime change on Mario. Oh man. The side comments are so good. I need to get into a better habit of reading those during the session chat. Okay.
Got one more line to type.
Okay. You're good. I was like, this is supposed to be a quick 2 minutes. I don't know how many bullet points are given me.
There you go. Not too many.
All right. Well, Saoirse, upon, hearing about General Caldwell's offer and everything like that, and Miho asking for any last statements, Saoirse would stand saying, I would like the floor if it's available.
She acquiesces and sits down.
Okay. What are the moods of the three at the moment? Miho and Knut and Sasha.
They all seem neutral enough. Knut is he's looking he's looking just a little bit frustrated. But not just outright angry.
Okay.
Miho is she seems optimistic, and Sasha is uh, looking at her compad.
All right.
Scroll.
Saoirse, upon, first there's Miho giving her respectful attention, then Knut looking like he's on the brink of being annoyed, and then Sasha just scrolling and not giving attention. And Saoirse had already been getting more annoyed as this diplomatic session went on at the various comments that were said, but now she's just not seething, but just boiling below the surface.
Mm-hmm.
To put it politely, but also to be completely frank, I am in disbelief at how incredibly selfish
The comments I have heard have been today asking Yarola to pay for all of this. They're your buffer zone. They're taking all the immediate risk. And the Tabukans are literally at your doorstep. If Yarola falls, you know you're next. It might be a year from now or 10 years from now, but you are next. You think you can't come because you can't have a bleeding heart? Your heart will be bleeding if Yarola falls. Because to Tabuk, they've done this before. They aren't shy about using Maltech or using overwhelming force, because under the current regime and dogma, their belief is that every world is better with Tabuk in it. Taking command. And trust me when I say they will not stop at Yarola. They will not stop because, oh, do we need more? I think that's enough. Something I'm sure you're all aware of is that when people want more, they don't stop looking for more. And if anything, you can help without directly involving yourself. So my admonition, if not my plea, is to stop being greedy when you're helping yourself by helping Yarola. I have nothing further to ask of this committee if they cannot see the way in which keeping Tabuk off of Yarola is keeping Tabuk out of their system. And then she'll say, thank you for the floor. And then she'll sit and gather her
Okay.
things.
Give me a lead check.
Oh, great. Oh, dear. Tom whispering.
Yeah, with a lead with wisdom.
Do I get any kind of modifier?
Hmm. For
role playing a really good speech that Deck gave me bullet points for.
If Brother Nick's talking, lend a help assist.
I'd say go ahead and take a modifier of 2. You
Right.
did pull that out of thin air and bullet points quite well,
Okay.
and had the whole group
If
working
you're
Worded very
together.
well too.
if you're praying or sending good vibes, do so now. I'm about to click submit. All right, here we go.
Woo!
Oh,
Okay.
pretty good.
That's a pretty good roll.
So as Saoirse goes to sit down, anybody who is looking around, trying to pick up on the mood or reactions, would notice among the Anagran delegation, in the seats back behind Miho, there's one kind of small, short fist pump jab that didn't quite reach above their head, but it's noticeable, and a few,
From one of Miho's aides or from their delegation.
yeah, from some members of their contingent, and there's some polite clapping, and
Yes, that's the fist pump.
you got basically from the moment when Saoirse started laying into him, Sasha looked up and was giving her attention, and she actually was. She seemed to be sincerely listening that time, a little bit more than others. And Knut he'd leaned back, arms crossed, and was watching Saoirse with a considering look. And as she sits down, he he gives kind of a not like a sarcastic slow clap, but kind of a like fair enough. You've earned a bit of acknowledgement from me, kind of clap. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my head. Um, and Mio gives her a nod and just a tight grin before schooling her face back to neutrality.
I was going to say Miho has the unfortunate luck of having to be in the same system as the Havari. So
Mhm. Yeah, same sector is, and they're essentially neighbors as far as those things go. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's actually that's a dynamic that I mentioned in my, I guess, just in my text out of, I guess, between sessions, that I would be willing to give some more information about some of these systems depending on character backstories, because a couple of you, well, I should say several of you have, uh, I'll just say, lots of room left in your backstories for more time spent places doing things, um, and kind of absorbing some experiential knowledge of these places potentially. So if any of you who are from this um, this neck of the woods, if you decide that you want to pull some of your backstory from one of these places, we can flesh out some more of that offline or online, either way.
I definitely need to flesh out more of Sersha's backstory.
Mhm. So let me just put here a few. Oh, let me put this in out of character planning. A few points to cover. Everybody go ahead and take 1 XP. And here in a moment we'll do faves, so be thinking about those. Let's see.
It's actually quite a ways, but I believe it was yep, Ethan next. Hey, thank you for the
Mm.
sub.
Oh yeah. Oh, tier 1. Ooh, I like your little kind of lightning zap effect on your.
Yeah, it's a neat little thing. I probably need to get rid of the sound effect of it for, role playing, but
That's all right.
I like Cade's response to Tom, by the way. Like, that is
Oh yeah.
politely. I think I've misunderstood something. It is when adults are acting like greedy children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would.
Like, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put that in the quote channel.
at some point I think Tom's gonna realize that Nero's mind is a vivid place to enjoy an action film if he's ever just, bored.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's dive right into faves here and start with Ethan.
I think my joke one would be canoodling.
Yes, canoodling was good.
But I guess more seriously, I think we had good back and forth with the a second round of talks. I feel like that was some good fun.
Yay. I'm glad you liked that. Robert, what about you?
Um, I think I would go with some of the revelations of Havario's true intent, along with the final speech.
Nice. Yeah, that was definitely fun. mm. Ethan, I'm just impressed that you held it in and restrained yourself for as long as you did in the session before dropping that one on us. uh, all thanks to my very unfortunate misspeaking. Oh, goodness.
Or is it fortunate?
I guess it turns out it was fortunate.
Very
My
fortunate
goodness,
for
though.
us.
Sometimes my brain and words is just very interesting lately. All right. Avery, what about you?
I'd have to say, realizing that Danielle is a real life telepath.
That was some funny out of character stuff.
We're almost gonna have to start doing an out of character favorite and an in character favorite.
hmm Yeah, I think it's fine to incorporate both. I don't want to put too much pressure on everybody to dig deep. But yeah, that's we have allowed as many as 3 favorites for a single session. I've been incredibly lenient on all that. So
I think Danielle has broken that.
Oh, possibly.
you think she's
Possibly
broken
every
it?
session.
Say one session and you consider her broken of that?
Well, no, I've considered
No,
her
he's
broken for a
saying
very
I
long
broke
time.
the rule, the rule
Oh,
of only allowing a limit of 3. He's
Yes.
saying I think Danielle has
Oh.
broken that.
got you. I know the last couple weeks you guys have been fairly restrained with that. Speaking of which, I guess it's down to me now. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure. Um, I think one thing I'll give a nod to uh Brother Nick teasing the Anagran aide about Martin Alder kind of playing up the the exclusivity and the mystery of it. I thought that was a nice little touch. And I think for the other, um, I think I enjoy getting I guess I would call it Nero's internal monologue. That there are a lot of times where we get to hear, Nero is thinking this, or she's really considering doing this, but she's not going to do it. Um, I find that sort of thing enjoyable because even though it didn't happen, and so we don't get to react to it in character or anything, it's just it's fun. It's a fun way to flesh out the characters and get a better kind of holistic understanding of who they are as a person, and how they react to situations without having to have them react actually in character to everything like that. So, anyway, that was fun. Danielle.
Man. So kind of not as I guess funny as the way Avery put it, but I did think it was really cool that the whole group was basically on the same page, like to the point where I didn't even have to be in chat and my mind was already jumping to like the same solutions that everyone else had already come to. So I guess being in sync as a group. And then in game, my favorite was getting to ream out an assembly of diplomats and getting applause for it because Saoirse did not expect that at all.
Yeah,
He
I thought we were gonna
expected
get kicked out.
awkward silence or getting kicked out. But the applause was nice.
Yeah.
And then she immediately felt embarrassed, but the applause was nice.
Yeah. It
Only
was
slightly embarrassed because she was still really angry.
Yeah. It was definitely scattered applause and muted, but or maybe subdued. But yeah, they definitely didn't get thrown out on their ear. Uh, some ranging from some appreciation to grudging respect.
Yeah, which I would say as back to being in sync as a group, like it was scared. No, like, but yeah, back to last session, otherwise known as Saoirse gets what she wants by being really scary. No, but back to the group being in sync. Like I loved that Dex and Robert were able to come up with all these bullet points that would make a really good speech and like, I guess with my brain is doing roulette through characters, but I'm trying to think of Ethan's name. And Ethan and I discussing who would do this in character, how would they go about doing it, what would the timing be, and just getting to decide on that. It's not super. It wasn't as organic as some people may prefer. Like some people want it to be like my character only says what I think of, but I think it was a really cool and collective way that we were able to kind of craft the story together. And it was just really fun.
Yeah,
I'm all for cooperative storytelling, and it was a really great example of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really do enjoy when the group can work together and give each other feedback on what they think each other's character would do, because I think that can help buffer the players against, letting themselves kind of seep into uh, the characters and yeah, fall into those kind of pitfalls.
I think Avery
later, Avery.
basically said same
Yeah.
for his favorites.
Yeah, it's already midnight.
I'll be real quick.
Should go ahead and get
I've got
this.
mine written down actually.
Oh, nice.
So, first off was absolutely the you've already said about the collaborative impact of it, but I want to give props to Danielle and Saoirse for making it real. That was great. Props to Ben. This is separate. For differentiating the NPCs. I felt them come more alive. The three primaries this time.
Yeah.
And it was a very small thing, but at the beginning, we did something just a little bit different that resulted us jumping straight into role-playing action. And that was pretty fantastic. We hit the ground running this session.
Yeah. That's true. I hadn't thought about the fact that it normally takes us a lot longer to get into the role playing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess I'm trying to think about that. I guess I pretty much just went from recap to saying
He just added his
good
third to
scene.
mine then.
Oops.
I mean, you can let it
Cat.
stay there, but you should also put it in Dex's.
Sorry, there's just so much text. All right, Dex brought back the 3 faves for one session. I like it. especially since I got to feature in 1 or 2 of them. All right. I can't fault a man for that.
I mean, I would say that you did a good job differentiating the NPCs, because that's part of why I felt like revealing Havario's true intent based on how it started, then how it started this session, versus how it became very clear that he was greedy for a land grab. So you did really well with that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna have to get off for the night, though.
It's
It's
a
late.
good time.
Good night, Robert.
Good time to go.
Night, y'all.
Tell
Bye.
Andrea we said hi.
We'll do.
Later.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and end the stream here if you like.
Good
That's
plan.
great.
Nighty night, y'all.